What's up, everybody? Welcome to the second edition, post number 2, I guess it is, of the Everything Kayak Fishing podcast, hosted right here on the Fishing with Gramps YouTube channel. Tonight, we're joined with John Dalton from Creek Fishing Adventures, presented by American Legacy Fishing and Fish Texas Kayak Trailers. If you're looking for the best kayak trailer on the market, man, you need to get a hold of Nick Finstad at Fish Texas Kayak Trailers, and he can build you what you want. And if you don't want to spend a ton of money, he's got some models that are better than anything you're going to find, starting around $1,800. And of course, if you're looking for rods, reels, both used and new, man, you want a great trade-in program, American Legacy Fishing, you can't beat it. And right now, they've had their open house going on this last weekend, and they got like 20% off of like everything that they've got. Give Kayla and Brian and the crew a call. Tell them Gramps sent you, and I tell you, you won't find a better deal. They will they will hook you up no matter what you're looking for. Anyway, man, tonight we have a great guest. I mean, I've been a fan of this guy for a long time, and pretty much if you've been into fishing, whether you're fishing from the bank, kayak, even boaters, everybody knows who John Dalton is, because you can't help but enjoy somebody who cherishes every single fish. And that's why I went back and pulled a picture for the thumbnail for this video. It was probably a while ago, but man, you talk about a lover of dinks and ones who cherishes every fish he catches, because every time he catches one, it sounds like it's the first one he ever caught. John, welcome. Glad to have you, man. We've not even had you on the show before, and I was like, man, after we were talking up north, I was like, I got to get you on and talk about all the stuff that's going on. So welcome aboard.
Hey, well, thanks for the intro. Glad to be here. Yeah, it was awesome getting to see you up in Wisconsin. You were catching big ones. I was catching small ones. But hey, we both had fun.
The whole point of me going was because I've been claiming the title of Dink Master for like 4 years now with Debo and everybody else. So I'm like, I'm going to go up there and jump in this micro bag and put the whooping on them. And then I go up there and find all the big ones. I was like, how's that work?
Yeah, they get some really nice ones. That was really good. That was awesome,
dude. And I mean, like I was telling you while we were up there, I was like, smallies have just been something I recently got into, and talking to Shranko and then going out to Susquehanna and sucking it up, and then but I learned a lot from that. I mean, it was really a cool trip out to Pennsylvania, but then I was like, I kind of wanted revenge and to do a little better. So yeah, Wisconsin. Wow, that place really showed out. I mean, it was something like I've never experienced before, especially fish with shoulders like those fish up there have. And yeah, I mean, I got into a good area thanks to a buddy of mine here in Indiana, because I basically sat at the boat ramp that he was getting out at, and I just stayed there and fished. And it turns out about 8 of the top 10 were fishing all out of that same boat ramp. Yeah. So I was blessed to be in a great area. Once I kind of figured out how they wanted what I was doing, then I was able to repeat the pattern over and over again. And I had 4 great days of fishing. But what did you think? Was that your first time up in that kind of area?
Yeah, I didn't catch a single fish over 16 inches, but I caught tons of fish. And I tried a few different areas, and fishing the river, I couldn't figure it out at all. I floated through, and going back and watching some of the other people and talking to people, like a lot of them that caught their fish, they were going upstream and casting and fishing slow.
Yep.
And I was, in my mind, I was thinking more Susky, like just fast fishing. You're just fast. And I really could not figure out how to get any good ones. But I caught some pike. I caught a bunch of fish overall, though. A lot of little ones. Went up in a creek and caught some. Went to a little place on the lake and caught a bunch of largemouth. But it was really fun, but definitely totally different, I'd say, than what I had in my mind.
Yeah, because I think between the lake itself and then going up towards the dam, it seemed like the closer up towards the dam you got, the better the fishing was. Even though the guy who won it basically won it like in all those little finger islands right there north of the lake. And I mean, I fished. I in pre-fishing, I went up through that. heading north to float back down to the ramp. And I didn't catch anything. Of course, I took all my electronics off my kayak. I'm like, I'm going true Drew Gregory style with the motor, of course.
Yeah.
But, I was like, I'm just going blinded. And I had no idea, because I'm sitting here thinking, okay, it could be like the Susky where you got shallow water, tons of rocks. I'm like, I'm going to take all my electronics off so I don't break anything or beat it to death. It was the complete opposite what I was expecting. Yeah. It was all sandbars, and with no way of knowing how deep it was except for dropping my paddle into the water. You roll up on sandbars. Everybody was talking about these deep sand holes where fish were probably laying. And I was just looking for bluff walls that had anything kind of deeper around it. But I mean, it was just kind of crazy trying to figure it out. But yeah, but I mean, it's like once I got something to work, I was like, okay, this is all I'm doing. Cause it's like every time I tried to get near any of those like little islands and whatnot, I would be in like an inch of water, and then I'm dragging back over trying to find, 6 inches of water so I could float again, then paddle back out, motor up. And once I kind of figured out, okay, I'm just going to stay in deep water and keep working things, it was completely wild. But yeah, it was kind of funny how it was just like once you kind of figured out maybe where they were, then it was just like on. I mean, yeah, I sit there and talk about how incredible it was, because I've just, once I kind of figured out something, it was just repeatable. And for me, like on that last day when everybody was talking about throwing jigs and fishing real slow, I'm still sitting here burning a little mini max, and they were just smashing it.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I mean, I started out throwing everything slow, but the funny thing is, everybody talk about whopper plopper this entire year, no matter where I have fished in this country, I have not had one single fish on a topwater. And I'm like a dude who throws a buzz bait like all the time. But I was up there cranking, chucking a whopper plopper like in a chopo, like in every direction. Nothing.
Yeah.
But as soon as I went underwater, then I started catching them. Did you do any good on topwater up there?
I caught several on a buzzbait, but only out of the river. Like in the main channel, I got nothing. I caught a walleye, or it was a walleye or sauger. I don't remember which one. And one little bass in the 6 mile float that we did. And I went with Jake and Josh. And then I went up in this little creek channel, one on one side, one on the other, and immediately start getting bites, mainly a lot of pike and a lot of largemouth.
Yeah.
But I did catch several on topwater, but going down the river, yeah, I'm chucking everything can chuck, and I'm like, what is going on? And then and I had no idea about the sand. You're floating through, you're casting, it's a foot deep. Then you're like, I have no idea how deep that hole is. And but that's what I like traveling and love to go to these. I try to pick a few kayak trips and like tournaments, 2 or 3 a year that are somewhere totally new. Yeah. And going somewhere totally new is it's always fun, because you have no idea what to expect. You might think you know what's going on, and you get there, and you got to tell yourself, I'm not fishing my normal place. I'm fishing somewhere else.
It makes it cool, because like for me, I was just like, okay, I'm in just pure fishing. I mean, it's like I don't know how smallies react to cold, or I guess the funny thing was when somebody asked me, it's like, dude, you really went up. I was like, I just went fishing. It's just you look at things that make sense, and you kind of look at it, and we all probably watched enough Jeff Little videos where he talks about fishing eddies and things like that, and that's really where I was, just trying to, like, anything that did like the little backwash, or he always talks about the white foam on the water, where there's foam, they're home, or, little things. And I told Jeff before when we were sitting up there talking at registration, is like, dude, I have probably increased the watch time on your videos by like 10,000%, just trying to pick up on little things, trying to learn from what I learned at the Susky, and then, even going up there, just stuff to look for. And he always talks about throwing a jackhammer. And then when he went through his little presentation about the the progression of aggression, I went the opposite direction. It's like, well, they're not being real aggressive, because I kept losing fish on, like, my second cast there, dude. I probably had my PB Smalley on, where the guy who won caught his giant like on the second day, not the
yeah.
21, but another big one. And I was sitting there kind of looking through that video last night as I was emptying SD cards, and I wasn't even mad that I lost that fish because I was like, that was probably the biggest bite I've ever had on a smallie. And he spit it, but I was like, okay, let's downsize a little bit. And then after that, it was over. I don't know how many I went through with all the pike and toothy critters that they're chewing and munching my baits, but I was like, I brought plenty, so if there's anything I've got, it's jackhammers. But I guess I want to back up a little bit too for those anybody who out there who may not be familiar with your channel. I guess my first question is what made you decide to strap on a GoPro the first time and start filming yourself while you were out fishing in creeks? Because that is creek fishing, I think, to a lot of people, especially those of us who kind of grew up maybe out in the sticks a little more, or even in the burbs or whatever. Everybody's got a creek somewhere near where they live, and a lot of people, maybe grabbed a back in our day, like an old school Zepco and a rooster tail, and just like, what's in here? And I mean, my brother and I started that same way in a little creek called Salt Creek near my grandparents' house. But what made you kind of get into that and then put a GoPro on and start filming your adventures?
Yeah, I'm from. I was born in Bowling Green, Kentucky, so I'm out in the country. Lived out in the country for my whole life, and like you said, how to. Everybody fishes. Like everybody fishes somehow. So fishing is just, I don't know. It's just so common. It's like everyone has a church to go to. So when I lived we lived in one place in Kentucky, in Southern Kentucky, and my dad was actually a pastor of a church. We lived in a house beside it. There's a basketball goal in the parking lot. There's a creek in the backyard, and then the church is right there. And that's like three things that I've just lived with my whole life: basketball, church, fishing. It's just like been a part of me. So I really got a desire, like in just messing around in small little creek, just catching whatever. I loved just finding something new, a little turtle, frog, catching something different. I never really fished, like I never bass fished at all until I got into kayak tournament fishing. So I never went out on boats. I never did nothing. So coming up through high school was mainly basketball, and like I didn't have working, didn't really have time to fish, and I'd just go. Me and my buddies would go to the riverbank, throw out some worms, toss around a couple of bass lures, maybe go to a pond every once in a while. And when I moved to East Tennessee 10 years ago, I moved over here where I'm at now. I didn't have my basketball friends. Everything changed. I would play, once or twice a week, basically. And then all my trucks I was always working on, I sold everything. So I needed the new hobby to get into. Yeah. And there's so many creeks around here. Right away, I kind of just picked up going to some creeks, just messing around. And that was in 2014, moved here. And I start catching fish, and it's just spending time. You can do it by yourself. I would do some urban creeks. I would just go around looking at places, and I start catching all kinds of fish. And I would be like, "Now, what is this species? Like, it looks really cool." I'd catch another one. Hey, this one's a little bit different. I never really knew what each species was. All I knew was like bass, catfish, and bluegill. But I always appreciated each one being different, and I always was like, I didn't want to just be like, I don't care. I was always curious what everything was. So I kind of got that back in my mind and started like, hey, this is kind of fun. I forgot how fun this was and how easy it is. So I'm just going around fishing. And then, so this is how I started the YouTube channel. I'm doing this. I'm having fun. This is right around YouTube is really starting to get going. People are starting to, this is probably around the time the Googans are starting and stuff, which I didn't know anybody. I do remember, what's the guy, Alabama, the guy in Alabama that did the topwater frog fishing and stuff like that. Bama Bass.
Oh yeah.
I remember long time ago, somebody was like, "Hey, look at these videos," because I knew I like fishing, and I was like, "That's kind of cool." So I kept looking I wonder if somebody fishes creeks and just catches multi-species stuff.
Yeah.
And for 6 months to a year, I keep telling people, I say, you know what? Somebody should make a creek fishing channel. Somebody should make a creek fishing channel. I never edited a video in my life. Never had a GoPro. Didn't know a single YouTuber or even wanted to even do that. And then all of a sudden I'm like, hey, I'm just going to do this. what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
I want to do it because I could share with my friends, the guys I worked with, HVAC. Some of them are fishing, and so I would go out and try to make a video and be like, "Hey, check this out! Look at these fish I caught." And then I would make another one. I'd go make another one, and I would try to like, all right, let me go see. And then as I was pushing myself to go fish more and more, I would find new places. I'm like, oh, I got to go make a video on that place. That place looks awesome. And then I would go, I got to go make a video over here. What I found out was I really enjoyed the process of going out, trying to film it, trying to capture the fish. It's a challenge, you know, it's like something I'm trying to accomplish. And then I would upload it to YouTube and get like 15 views, you know, and I was fine with that. I didn't want anything more. I get 300 or 400 subscribers, and you know, I'm like, wow, that's a lot of people. You know, and then after about 2 years, it took me, I think, a year to get like 100 subscribers. And then after about 2.5 years, I really started, all of a sudden I started getting all this traction where I was getting like a few hundred views, which I was really happy. I was like, man, this is pretty cool. I'm getting like 200 or 300 views a video, to boom, I got like 10,000 views on a video. And then I had another video get like 20,000 views. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. Like, what is going on? And in a 6-month span, I went from like 4,000 subscribers to 20,000 subscribers, and started, it was monetized. So I was making, I think the most I ever made was like $200. And then I went to $1,000. It was like so fast. It just jumped. I started making over $1,000 a month from there on. It never went back below that. So it didn't go like crazy high. It went up enough, just enough to think I can make a living on this. And if I don't try, what, you know, why not? You know, so I quit my job at like 20 something thousand subscribers, which is ridiculous. I know, but it was growing. And I was like, I'd saved up a little bit of money. I was doing HVAC, and I knew I could always go back. I told my boss,
Yeah, I was
like,
gonna
hey,
say in that job field, it's like if
yeah.
I have to go back, I can do that because that's high demand.
Most everybody was like, and even me, I was like, I'll do this for 6 months and see if I can stretch it out to a year.
Yeah.
And I'll probably, and then I'll probably just go back. I'm like, that's fine with that. I'll at least get to say I did this. And yeah, so that was 5 years ago when I quit my job. It's grown ever since, and I love going out and fishing. And I've gotten a little bit tired down of some of the things of YouTube, but I still have a drive to go do it, go fish, go catch stuff, share it with people. Now I get to go fish with all people. I've met so many people through YouTube that I never could have saw that coming. You know, getting to do all these kind of things. So being part of Knuklhed, doing all this stuff. So yeah, it's been a wild ride, and I'm curious to see where it goes from here.
It's pretty cool because it's like we were talking up there. You know, it's funny the doors that open just by, you know, sharing something that we all love. And, you know, like I said, whether you're fishing from the bank or kayak or however you like to do it, you've still got that, whatever you're chasing. I mean, it can be smallmouth, largemouth. There's a lot of people that love the catfish. I was at a family reunion this weekend talking to one of my cousins, and her husband, they're big into like carp fishing. And so they do a lot of carp content. And it's funny, there's an interest out there for whatever style, the way you like to fish, because there's so many different ways of chasing whatever. And you see that down south with people chasing reds and, you know, doing all the offshore stuff. And of course, you know, I'm that dude who's always addicted to the same fish over and over and over, because for me, it's all about catching what's the next bigger one? What's the next bigger, you know, and just putting yourself in those positions to be able to do that. But then sometimes, you know, it's like I've even kind of taken a toll off of you, where I've started kind of hunting around the little creeks that are around the golf courses as I, you know, lose a little more weight and get a little more mobile, you know, going around seeing if there's even any little smallies in the creeks nearby, which I've heard. But I mean, I got to get to the point where I can go walk through and do that. And I just get motivated even more by chasing these little fish, in part just by, you know, watching guys like you still local to me. I've got the puddle walkers, and they're very much in the infant stage of growing a channel, very much like you did, and very similar in style and in love and passion for everything that's in the water in the creeks around here. And they've showed me fish that I never knew were possible. They're not in the rivers around here because ours are pretty much, stained and kind of dirty. They're good for spots and largemouth, but these guys actually go find the smallies in the creeks and whatnot. So even they kind of motivate me to keep doing more and kind of go back out and acting like I'm a little kid again too. But
that was one of the biggest drives. Is like I just enjoyed it and wanted to have fun doing it. And on YouTube, like at that time, there was nobody doing it, and people would view creek fishing as like second-rate fishing. It's like, well, creek fishing or catching a small fish. And I was like, man, I wanted to appreciate all the sizes and the way it's come now. Like, even guys like puddle walkers and stuff. Like, there's so many channels out there that just go out there and fish and catch whatever and have fun.
Yep.
And I feel like I was a part of. I don't know if it really was me or not, but I take pride in like being a part of growing that part of it and just showing that it's like it's fine. It's not like you got to be like, oh, I'm scared to do this. I'll go stand out in the middle of the highway in between roads just with the ultralight rod catching tiny little fish. Dude, some people are gonna think you're crazy, but
one of the first videos I ever saw you in, you were in my hometown fishing with a local Hoosier Back Outdoors, and I was like, I know right where they're at. And then what that you just triggered a memory. Like in one of the other videos that I just absolutely love is you pulling over on the side of the highway and like, oh, look, there's water there. I wonder if there's anything in there. And I'm like, what insane fool is pulling over on a highway in between the lanes of traffic trying to find out if there's fish? Creek Fishing Adventure does. Like, you don't know unless you give it a shot.
Yep.
Now, somebody actually in the comments is asking what kind of kayaks everybody fishes out of, which leads me to my next, question is, what was your first kayak and what led you to kind of to get one or give one a shot? I mean, there's all kinds of kayaks out there, and it seems like as the years go by, and I mean, I know this from watching you for so long, that you've had kayaks, now we're into specialty kayaks. You got kayaks for kind of like everything, but what was your very first kayak and what led you to try to, hop in one for the first time, and kind of tell us about that adventure?
What's up, River Ninja? That guy, he lives by me. So we've
Okay.
kayaked a couple times, but so kayaking is the same thing I think of as going to creeks. It lets you explore more. And that's my channel is called Creek Fishing. It ought to be called Exploring Adventures, because I just want to go everywhere. I just want to go as many and like anywhere but where boats can go. Like I live 25 minutes from Chickamauga Lake, and I never go out on the lake. Only in the winter, like because there's so many creeks to fish. And that's what I like doing. So kayaking, when I saw that people were floating rivers, I was like, that sounds like something I want to do. That sounds really fun. You get the kayak. I'd kayaked a couple times using some friends, but I never floated a river like where you put in, and go downstream and take out. And so I bought it was I forgot what it was. The 112 Pelican. No, the King Sport 12-footer. And it was called a fishing kayak. It's a fishing kayak. It was right when I don't know, because I was late to getting into kayaks. So when I saw this was at Dunham's, and this was the most expensive kayak that I knew of. Like it was $600-700. It was a stand-up kayak. I was like, wow, this is like a nice fancy kayak.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anything about any other kayaks at all. So I buy that, and there's a river here down the road from me that I've been wanting to go explore. It's really beautiful. So me and a guy from work and his friend, we went, got the kayak, went down it. First time going down it, I end up flipping the kayak in a little cut through because the guy in front of me got stuck. I run into him, which causes me to turn sideways. His rods were sticking up and had a lure, got stuck in the tree. My hand gets stuck in the hook in the tree. It's 2 foot of water, but it's so fast that it's swipes. I actually tried to bail out because I'm like, I'm going over, and I pop up and I'm like just body surfing basically in the current with my hand. I'm like, why won't my hand come loose? And it took me like 10 seconds to realize there was a hook in it.
Oh no.
So I like reach over, grab my pocket knife, cut it out. Like if I was underwater, I don't know what would happen, but
Oh man.
because they couldn't even get to me really, because it was just an easy going river and then one little fast cut through.
Yeah.
But that was my first kayak trip. Yeah, I flipped, and it was, but I was like hooked on it. I was like, this was awesome though. Like I am going to do this more.
Yeah.
I'm not stopping. And I love, as far as kayaking, my favorite way is just to go kayaking with no motor, no nothing, just simple. Let the current take you. We're putting in here and we're taking out down there. We're just gonna go with the current. Bring 3 fishing rods and just go fishing.
Yeah, it's funny because my youngest is 25 and his kayak is a very, he's got a bona fide RS 117, just no electronics. He's got a little bag that he got from like Bassmaster like 10 years ago. And he just keeps, he throws stuff in there and maybe 1, maybe 2 spinning rods if, he's feeling extreme. But that's, he loves that too. And so we started, we started doing the kind of the same thing back when all of my sons were younger. We had the good old Walmart sit-in red and blue kayaks, and there's like a little lake on the bottom of the base I work on that was just filled with giants. So you hook into it like a 4 or 5 pound bass, just pull you around everywhere. But after my 2 older sons were gone in the Army, my youngest was like 12, 13. We started getting out and chasing more like the rock bass and stuff in the creeks and whatnot. And that's really where he's at. When he sees my stuff these days, he's like, what's wrong with you? So he's like, you need to go get another paddle kayak so we can go do the old school stuff again. Because that's the reason why he wants me to get back in shape, so we can go drag into places like and do exactly what you're talking about too. You know me, if I can get away with rolling around in my motorized lazy boy and doing all that, then sure I will. But I get where he's coming from too, because for us, those were some of the best things. And he wants to get back into those days of, doing an overnighter where you pull up on a sandbar and throw up a tent, light up. And you see a lot of guys doing that. One of my favorite channels still to these days is like, everything outdoors. And those guys do, little day-long floats and pull over and cook some brats. And I'm just sitting here like, I need more of that in my life, But that's the cool thing about it, is especially with kayaks, you can put as much into them as you want or as little as you want.
Yeah, I have 6 kayaks, I think, right now. And
so tell us your fleet and what you kind of like about each one of them, because there's always somebody new that's kind of getting into it and don't know what they like, or maybe not. So kind of go through your fleet and tell us what you've got.
Let's see here. This is like we were talking earlier before we got live. I just bought a vehicle. I've had over 100 something vehicles. I love vehicles. I love anything with a motor, and now it's like kayaks. And I just like anything that you can do something with. So, I have the first 2 kayaks I sold to my sister. I had the the King Sport, and then I had the Catch 100 that I bought off a buddy, and it was very unstable for me. I want to be able to stand if I'm kayaking, if I can.
Yeah.
So small kayaks are fine, but I just like being able to stand. I kayak so much, and that's another thing to take into factor. I kayak so much, and I'm out there so much that me getting a little bit bigger kayak or something a little more stable, it makes a big difference. Rather than if you just go out and you fish once a month, it may be different. But I got the so the first kayak sent to me was the Old Town Pedal Drive 120.
Oh yeah,
and I thought I was in heaven when I got that kayak, and it's probably still my favorite kayak. Like I took it up to, that's what I used in Wisconsin because I got a motor, but it's not working. So that is such a good kayak. It's very stable, very comfortable. Going from paddling to pedal drive is a big upgrade. It's very huge. And that kayak's like $2,700 kayak, something like that, $2,500. Really not that bad for a really good kayak. And that's that's usually my lake one or tournament fishing kayak. And then I'm going kayaking tomorrow, and I bought a kayak off my buddy. It's an Old Town Topwater 120. It's just the same thing, non-pedal drive, basically.
Just the paddle version.
It weighs 85 pounds, and it is a great river kayak. I love the Old Town seats. The Old Town seats are very comfortable.
Yes.
So that's what I take on. We're gonna do a river float. Me and Alex Rudd actually are gonna do a river float tomorrow.
There you go.
We're gonna go 6 miles down here on the river, and that's what I'll grab. You know, it's not too heavy, but it's very comfortable. It's easy to paddle. We're gonna do one-way float, so I don't need anything else really. I got a Bonafide RVR. It's also I think around 80 something pounds, and it's also really really good river kayak. Very stable. I can stand and fish out of it easy. I have a motor on it, except my motor is messed up right now. So, I don't know. I gotta call them back, and that's just a part of having motors and stuff. I guess that's one of the things I don't like about having so many things on my kayak.
Yep.
But anyhow, so I got a what's the one? A Crescent Shoaly.
Okay, yeah.
That is the fastest paddling kayak I have. That kayak glides through the water, and I haven't put a motor on it yet. I've thought about maybe having that motor swapped over to it because it'll shoot. But for me, it's a little wobbly at times compared to the RVR. RVR I feel a little more stable, but the Shoaly is a little bit lighter and it's fast. If you want to paddle, that's the fastest kayak I think I've paddled a fishing style. It paddles very easy. Let's see here. I have another one. I can't think of what it's called. It was sent to me, and it was a cheaper kayak, and it's all right. It's one of those ones that's like I tried it and used it, and I never really used that much. I forget the brand of it. And
is it like one of the Brooklyn or whatever, where they're like
it's a Brooklyn 10. What is it? It's a stand-up brook kayak. It paddles great. It's like a really good, but the seat is too low.
Yeah.
For me. So I actually saw that they fixed that. They changed it on their newer models, but it's like $1,900 kayak, and actually it's very good kayak, like well done. It's just different. It's definitely made differently. There's got different holes in it, and when I stand up and I sit back down, the seat's so low, and I like sitting pretty high. I like trying to sit up high. So I usually just choose another kayak when I'm doing it, but I've been trying to raise the mounts on it. And then I just bought all those I think I've had getting for me, except for one of the Old Towns I bought myself. And then I just bought a NRS inflatable. The Cuda.
Okay, one of the Ospreys or whatever.
No,
that's Innovative Sportsman's is the Osprey, but yeah.
Cuda, I think is the name of it.
Okay.
It's a 106, so it's a 10.5 foot, I think.
Yep.
And Alex actually got the 12 foot. They were on sale. He messaged me. He's like, "Hey, the kayaks are on sale." So for $700, I got a inflatable kayak. I haven't even opened it yet because I have some ideas I want to do. It weighs 24 pounds, I think. It's like crazy. So there's a couple of like tiny creeks that are like on the side of the road that I'm like, I just want to chuck it off and like just to get through a couple deep holes.
Right.
And then also I was thinking I've been wanting to buy something for wading trips where I can just pull it behind me and like have more gear. And like, I'm like, this is perfect. I can carry it in. I can pull it behind me like on my waist. And then when I'm done, I can just float back down, but I don't have to like for not kayaking the whole day. So for that, I'm like, I haven't even used it yet, but I plan to do some things like that's why I love kayak, because I feel like there's every single kayak, there's a place for it. And I want a bigger kayak. I would love to have something bigger than my Old Town 120 for like when we go down to Guntersville.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I want to go out or if I want to fish below the dam and something a little bit more, turbulent or something like it. So I'm never going to judge anybody by buying a kayak because there's so many ways and so many uses for them.
Yeah, I mean, I get a lot of comments on mine, and that's actually going to be my river kayak, because my lake kayak is going to be one of the new XTR 130s here in about 4 to 5 weeks. But I still want a creek fishing kayak. So, I started with a Future Beach Angler 144 way back, and that's when the first fishing kayaks were coming out. And then like we have a Dunham's here, and when I ended up moving from the Future Beach, I went to the Old Town Topwater, and I was always into the 10 footers. So I wanted something. I had a short bed, canyon, and so I wanted something that wasn't too long for the truck. So I went for the the top water 106. And then when I got my first PDL drive, it was the PDL 106. And even being a big dude, I mean, a big short dude, but I mean, even that, you know, that thing held me up. Like I was never afraid of, you know, in that thing. And that's one thing I've always appreciated about Old Town. They build kayaks that are like tanks. I mean, I beat that thing off of stumps, rocks, pedal drive would, you know, come flying up if I hit a stump. But I mean, I love that. And then, of course, you know, later on when I started getting into the more tournament stuff, you know, the autopilot became a thing, and I absolutely love that. But you know, still, what you know how it is. If you're on YouTube and you don't want to be locked into one brand, even though I stayed on the Old Town Pro staff for a year, I still wanted to play with more stuff. And when you know, when Bonafide came out with that PWR, I'm like, I'm putting on all the motors and all the things, and then they doubled down on that and made an even bigger one.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, here comes my live scope floating dock. And that's probably what that I'll probably put the XI3 back on the front of that. And then, yeah, when we go to Guntersville or big lakes, I'm not in a hurry to get anywhere. Then I'll just have that front motor on there like Gene always does. But then I can put that NK300 on the back of, I keep saying I'm going to make my PWR. That's going to be like my loaner veteran boat or whatever. Because part of me still wants like an RVR or something that's a little more, you know, creek friendly. But if I want to put a motor on it, I can't imagine when an NK300 on the back of an RVR, throwing the weight going up the river. But I mean, you know, for like the river that we were fishing up in Wisconsin, the PWR was the perfect size because I had all the stability. You know, I had plenty of power to get up that current and never felt unsafe. But my son still wants me to get like a paddle yak. So that's why I was asking. It's like, you know, if you were just going to paddle in one, would you do your Old Town, the RVR, the Crescent? What would kind of just be your favorite paddle yak? And it seemed like you almost answered that question for me with a little, you know, paddle 106. So that's, I'm never afraid to go back to Old Town. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. I had a PDL 106 and it is the most versatile and fits all kayak. I would recommend that kayak to anybody if they want their first kayak. I'm 6'4", 230 something, and I've stood up, you know, frog fishing, casting, setting hooks on frogs in the 106. Yeah, I used it in kayak tournaments. I actually ended up selling it here recently but that was my kayak that I let people borrow a lot.
Okay.
So yeah, and that's another thing. That's another reason to have several kayaks for just. I mean, I think people fish all the time, and I'm bringing my kayaks. Like, yeah, I'll bring a kayak so you can do this. Yeah. Yep. So, but as far as the RVR, I've used it in a couple tournaments, and it's great for ripping up rivers. It feels a little small, so I don't think I would. If I could upgrade to the PWR, I think I would for river tournaments because I've heard that, like you said, that still does really good in the rivers.
Oh yeah.
As far as the RVR, I feel it feels a little too small for some reason. Especially when I'm trying to lay a fish down. Like, where do I put my legs? I got to like move my legs out of the way.
Yeah.
I got to do a lot of stuff. So it's great for running up a river. But I think if you wanted to tournament fish, I'd go a little bit bigger for that one. But if I had to choose one kayak, if there was one kayak I had to have, and that's all I'm having, I'd probably take the Old Town, either 106 or 120, because you can take the motor out if you want and leave it at home. And I've done that a ton. And I got a little block off plate and I floated rivers. I can put the pedal drive back in there for legs. So you can do a lot with it.
And I mean, and even some people, they love those so much, they'll even throw a motor on the front or the back if they just want to do that too. I mean, but that's the cool thing about it. And, you know, I thought like when the native Titan X came out, I was like, oh, that's the one. But that thing's built like a tank and it's heavy like a tank too. And I ain't trying to drag none of that over a log or, you know, all that other stuff too. But it's funny because I thought I'd always be like the dude with a kayak and that would be my do everything. But now I keep like you, it's like, I know I'm gonna end up with a fleet. And I've actually got Nick, my, at Fish Texas Kayak Trailers, building me the exact same trailer that Michael Iaconelli's got so that you can wet launch two of them at the same time. You got the rod coffin on top if you want, or you can take that off and put a third kayak up there. Because, you know, like you said, you never know when you're going to get to a spot where you got a bunch of buddies that, you know, you leave your truck and trailer at the bottom of the float and then everybody else launches from up top too. So you just never know. Dave said the XTR looks like one of those Navy destroyers on the water. Yeah, and it was so funny when they launched that with Hans, the way they put it on those racks where it was angled like that. A lot of people don't realize it's similar in dimensions to like the Titan X or the NuCanoe Unlimited or even a PA-14. But just the way they put it up there that really laid it out like that, it's like, is this guy a little person, or how does I said Hans looks like he's 5'4", just the way they had that thing. But I mean, when I look at it, I'm like, man, because I got those, if you fish bigger lakes, you put that nice comfy seat on it. You want something that you got a lot more room. I can see a kayak like that for like St. Clair or some other places where you have bigger water as well. Definitely not something I'm going to drag and throw in a river anywhere, but still, that thing looks incredible. So I really can't wait to get my hands on one, because even though I'm trying to be a littler guy, I still want to be a little guy in a bigger boat, just because especially when I'm playing around on the lakes and whatnot.
And as much as we do this, we kind of overlook it, but I think a lot of people don't realize how much being comfortable goes.
Yep.
Especially, you fish a 2-day tournament, 8 hours a day. If you're a little bit uncomfortable, it drains you so much more than if you are relaxed. And as a lot of people, you just don't understand it until you actually do it. So I know a lot of people love to hate on those big kayaks and stuff. But yeah. I mean, I don't have any that big. I mainly like to be able to load mine in the back of the truck, but I also want a trailer for when I'm hauling some bigger kayaks. But I would fish out of a big kayak like that for, I like, all right, it's time to take the big kayak. Let's load the big kayak up.
And if you're into tournament fishing, which not everybody is, but if you are, you're generally going to be there, thinking about it. We talked about, the Kayak Bassmaster Series. It's going to the championship's going to be on Lake Fork this year. Well, a lot of the guys that are fishing that are probably going to be there 2, 3, 4, 5 days ahead of time. Yeah. And like you said, if you're in a kayak that's not comfortable, that adds up, especially through your practice days.
Yep.
And then you turn around and have to fish, 2 more full tournament days. If you don't have a comfortable place to be sitting there fishing 8, 12 hours. I mean, I've gone out, and even with my bad back, bad whatevers, there's been days I've been on the water like 15 hours. There are Old Town and Bonafide are probably the only 2 that I've been in that I would be in that seat that many hours in a single day, multiple days in a row. So, I was kind of lucky to stumble upon Old Town like early on. Sale during Christmas at Dunham's was where I got my very first one at. And I became an Old Town fan, and I always will be after that. But I mean, just two of the best sitting kayaks that I've ever been in, made by Old Town and Bonafide. So it's cool now that there's some more. The manufacturers are taking that Millennium seat that you see it. A lot of people put, tree stands are made out of them, these days. And I've actually got one of those in my boat that's sitting up on the hill that I bought in 2020, brand spanking new, that I've been in maybe 5-6 times. Why? Because I love kayak fishing.
I want to try fishing out of one of those seats. I haven't been in those yet.
It's so comfy. It's so comfy. But yeah, when I get that XTR rigged out, I have to throw you in it one of these days and let you tool around in it. But yeah, I absolutely love those seats. So I'm actually really looking forward to that too, because that's just like the next level. Next level in comfort too, because hey, the more we're going to fish and then do all this, why not be comfortable when you're doing it? So the Wisconsin River Fest was really fun. I am so glad I went and did that. Drew has done an outstanding job, and honestly, I can't wait to go to Minnesota next year. I know they've got one more coming up in Kentucky here, but we're going to be down south chasing other fish. And we were talking about this. So let's talk a little bit about Knucklehead. We got the Hero Cup coming up. How's your squad looking this year? You got I know you got a lot of fans that like fishing and competing in for your tournament. How's your crew looking for your Hero Cup team this year on Lake Guntersville?
I think we're doing pretty good. They put up some pretty big numbers, and I got 2 guys
this year.
Yeah, Yeah, I was looking through some of these pictures and like 23s, and I'm like who catches these 24s? Like I don't.
I'm
I
saying,
I think my biggest fish. I don't even know if I've caught one over 22, like a largemouth.
yeah.
Maybe. Like I caught one the other day that was a 21.75, and it was probably 6.5 pounds, six and a half, and that's probably one of the 3 biggest fish I've ever caught.
And these guys are doing it like every month, like around the. Yeah, you look at our teams, and it's like I'm the worst person on my team.
Yeah.
You know, that's just. I like to fish, but I don't have anything like that around here. But do you have any repeat team members from last year?
What's crazy? I got 3.
3.
Yeah,
Holy cow!
they came for it. They were fishing hard.
They weren't going to be denied, huh? They're going to
Yeah.
come back with a vengeance this year.
Yeah, I was wondering how that was going to go, but they were really liked it, and they really put the work in. Yeah, one new guy, and he seems really cool, and we've all been chatting a little bit and sharing some pictures, so they are definitely fired up and ready to go. What about your team?
My team, I have 1 repeat. Of course, my team, we split this year. So
That's right.
Jeremy had a team with the Freedom Squad, and I had the Team Gramps team. And we had a lot of people that were on our teams last year fishing for both of them. And Liz is from Florida. Liz put in the work. I mean, last year at the Hero Cup she was brand new to kayak fishing, so she's got a whole bunch more experience under her belt, even though she led our team last year with the 20 that was on there, and the rest of us had 18 somethings. But Liz come back and raised the bar right out the gate and took the first one and was like, that's stamped that in there. And then I had Josh Wells, who fishes for Team Bonafide in Mississippi, who is another young hammer. And then had a guy who actually lives in Alabama, who is an hour south of Guntersville, won the 3rd one. So I got some local juice this year. Last year seemed like everybody else, we were all from out of state, and none of us had really been to Guntersville a whole bunch. But yeah, so I mean, it was pretty good. And then my last one was a ringer that I recruited while we were at the Susquehanna, because I had met Michael at the NC a couple of times, and we got the BSing at the Susky. And I was like, look, dude, I need another hammer. I need somebody who's going to come in and close the door. And he's from West Virginia. He's been like one of their state champions. He's like sitting in the top 10, I think, for Bassmaster AOY kayak series. So I did some heavy recruiting while we were down there. I was like playing the whole Gramps and need some assistance. I need, something. And yeah, so he came in and then smoked it for the last one too. So we've got a good solid crew that's going to come in there. And then Freedom Squad, my brother ended up having to drop out last minute, but he was replaced by our other Freedom Squad member, Matt, who is the 3 of us founded the Freedom Squad. So Matt, instead of cooking the barbecue this year, we lose those services.
That was really good.
Yeah. So Matt's actually leading that team, and he's got Mainstream Fishing is on their team, Trevor from Texas, and then a couple of guys from North Carolina that really smoked them down there too. So both of the teams are looking pretty good, but talking to like Darren and Jay, it seems like everybody's got really good. So, we all just got to go put the whooping on Chad and Gene again and beat their butts on their own home lake. And then everybody's a winner.
Yeah, I couldn't land anything. I lost so many fish in the tournament day. They just kept hitting. I had like 3 of them come off at the kayak. The biggest thing, I think I only caught I was like the worst guy on our team. I think I had like a 16-incher. I felt bad like not getting anything really good, because one of the guys had a 20 and the other one had like an 18 and 19. But
yeah, I mean, it's funny because Jeremy and I launched, we were fishing in the same area, and he caught one on a frog, like right out the gate, like an 18.25 or an 18. And then I split off from him and went out, and like 5 minutes later, I had an 18 on the board. And then it was like, I caught so many fish during the day, but they kept getting smaller in size. I was sitting there, I remember going back looking through the video, and it's like 18-inchers, 17-inchers, 16. I was like, no, I need bigger. And it was like, it was just like all day long. And then finally, with like an hour to go, I culled that 18 with like an 1875, but we just couldn't get that one more upgrade to hold
Yeah.
the lead and ended up getting past there at the very end by half an inch. You know, Darren goes and catches a
Dang.
22.
Yeah, I
Then
know.
his teammate, who hadn't really 15 minutes ago, caught the one fish the right size. But I mean, you know, that's fishing. That's how it goes. If I was going to lose to somebody, I was happy to lose to Darren because he had a good crew of people. He's a great dude. It was fun, but no more being nice this year. We want to come out and smack them, and we want to smack them good. And I'm telling you, as you know, because you're preparing for you got a state championship going on at the same time, don't you?
I'm still trying to figure out if I can do it. I told Steve that I'm trying to. I gotta make sure I don't have to go into any of their checkups because we have our meetups and check-ins at the same time. So if he'll let me do it, I'm gonna try to fish at the same time. That's
Gotcha.
That's my last way to qualify for nationals, and that's how I've done it the last 3 years. I've been in the top 10 in our Tennessee Bass Nation State Championship.
Yeah.
So I'm like 3 years in a row, like running, like I was 7th, 8th, and 6th or something like that. So I'm like, but yeah, if it gets in the way, I'll cut it because I want to make sure our guys have fun and I'm gonna do the knucklehead first, but I think might be able to work it out.
I mean, I'm betting Chad would let you call in if you had to go to the other one too, because I know Matt, he has to work Friday, and so he'll be driving down during the captain's meeting. So I'm sure Chad will.
Yeah, I'll verify everything. Just let people know.
Yeah, just making sure. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, hopefully you can finish both.
Yeah.
I'm actually thinking about jumping in. Well, I'm going to do it. I'm going to jump in the Cotto event. Not that I have a shot in hell at finishing in the top 10% to try to qualify, but you know what? If I don't go try, I'm going to be at the Classic anyway. So I'm like, if I go to Cotto, I have a chance at catching a tank, just like I do at Guntersville. Yeah. And you know what? You know what happens if I get lucky again? What if I have another best day of fishing on the water and make that top 10%, and then fish, on Lake Fork in March with everybody else? I mean, that's going to be magical. I mean, and who knows what kind of tanks you come out. So
yeah, if you go down there. Go down there, relax.
I've convinced my boss to let me take some more leave and go. I'm going to be gone to Guntersville, and then I'm going to turn around and come back for a weekend, and then go straight back down to Louisiana and see what happens.
Is that the one on the border of like Louisiana and Texas?
Yeah, it's right between Texas and Louisiana.
That does sound.
Somebody said I better bring your frog fishing game to Cotto, JT. I actually bought a frog rod. Believe it or not,
yeah.
I'm bringing an actual frog rod. And I'm gonna catch one on a frog. So they tell me.
Yeah, I tried, and every time I've been to Guntersville like twice now or 3 times I think, and I've always tried to catch fish on a frog. Like never, I'll like try for like 15 minutes. I'm like, this ain't working.
Yeah,
I can't stick with it. I have to go like something else. I'm not too confident in it.
I've lost so many fish on a frog. It's like in every ridiculous way that they don't get hooked up. Chad tells a story that he and I were fishing this one time, and he was like, he's like, dude, he literally took his paddle and he's like, I need you to pull up right here. And he drew a line in the water with his paddle. He said, park right here and cast right at that tree. And he said, you're going to get hit, you're going to get bit, and we're going to end this drought. And I literally put right next to him. I cast right where he tells me. I worked the frog a couple times. Skadoosh. And he's like, you gonna set the hook? Because I always pulled it away too, and I'm like 1,001, 1,002. 1. He's like, I'd never think I'd ever seen anybody sit there and not set the hook that long. But he says you still should have caught that fish. But as soon as I went to swing, that frog, he's like, that was probably a big one. Somebody asked me what frog rod did I get. I got a Shimano X Pride B heavy. They didn't have the extra heavy, but I got a heavy. That I'm sure that'll do it. But I like the Shimano rods for that kind of stuff. I wasn't going to spend Loomis money for a frog rod. I do that for stuff that's more sensitive and all that because I'm old and bougie and I like to have fancier stuff too. But then again, I went up to Wisconsin with my Monster Bass Lunker sticks and still smashed them. And that shows that you can go fish tournaments with a $120 rod and have every bit. I give those guys credit. The Doomsday Tackle that makes those for Monster Bass, that is a best value rod for $120 that you'll ever find. And they fish great. But no, I'm bringing the bougie stuff out when we go to Guntersville because I gotta pimp my primary sponsors up here, American Legacy Fishing, because they are the G Loomis Superstore. So, yeah, I got a Shimano X Pride for my frog rod, and I've got an older Corrado that wasn't doing nothing. That I'm going to put some braid on it and see if I can't catch a frogfish.
How long is that rod?
What's that?
How long is the rod?
I got a 7-footer. I was trying to find
okay.
a 7.3, but I kind of took what was available because
Yeah.
they had big sales going on that weekend, and you pick what you can get. But for me, I think the shorter rod actually would let me snap the hook a little bit better, and maybe get a little more force in it. Being a shorter rod, I can take up that line really fast and hopefully slam that in there. But we'll find out. So we'll be ready. But yeah, I'm looking forward to catching some frogfish too. So heard a lot of people talking about a whole bunch of different types of frogs. So we'll see. We'll see what the team says. Tie this on and throw it, and I'll be like, okay.
Yeah, sure.
Liz actually caught a giant on that swamp lord. She was out practicing because she's like me. She didn't throw a frog a whole lot either, but she posted a picture yesterday, and that frog, that fish's face was like this, and that frog looked tiny in the mouth. I mean, it was like I couldn't imagine smashing him like that. But hey, you never know. I mean, it can happen to any of us at any given time.
Yeah, that's what's cool about going to those special places. Like, they're special for a reason. Like that you just And when I went, the first time I ever fished Guntersville was just like 2 years ago, and I remember catching like 16s and 17s, and just think how thick they were. Like they were just like, whoa, these are on another level. And it was last year's state championship. I had 90.5 inches on back-to-back days, and that was like I never had a 90-inch day before, and it was like, this is amazing. On back-to-back days, and I got 7th. There were still people doing way better. So.
Now, when you go fish, even though you're going to like Guntersville, like Lake and this, are you still looking for that creek to go fish in, just to kind of stick with what you know the most? Kind of sticking with your style.
Yeah, because I'm very simple. I can't fish that many different ways, so I'd say I'm limited, and I just fish my strong suit, and it worked out. It works out really well most of the time, as long as there's not too many people in there. But there's some big creeks on Guntersville that you can go miles back in, like huge channels where they're not like sometimes you think of a creek as a tiny little thing. Some of these creek channels are huge, but I like to explore while I'm fishing. I have to have something interesting.
You're still there for the adventure, even though you're fishing a tournament.
Yeah. So I usually, if I go to a creek, I'm just trying to work my way all the way as far as I can go into that creek, as far as I can go. Even if it looks like it's nothing, I'll try to go as past that if I can. If I don't have to get out of the kayak or whatever. And I did it was actually I did the national championship here on Chickamauga like 3 years ago, and I got 13th. It was the last spot paid, and I caught my last 2 keepers way up this creek, past this like mile-long dead zone that I just kept going. That I knew that like somewhere up here, there's going to be another 15 or 16 incher, because I just needed it was like a tough day of fishing, and I ended up catching 2 15.5-inch bass in about a foot of water at the very end of the day, at the very back of this creek, just to bump myself up there. So, but I've spent a lot of time in creeks and not catch stuff, but as long as it ain't winter time, there's usually always fishing creek channels. So
yeah, throwing a spinnerbait, throwing a yum dinger,
and they hit more aggressively too. That's a lot of times too. They're back there eating. Where if you're chasing them on like other areas, like I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I just don't know if there's fish there and I'm not catching them. Am I not throwing the right lures? I don't use any electronics either. I like to just go real simple and just have fun with it.
Oh yeah, keep it simple. I mean, it's like I can watch 50 videos of you fishing in a creek, and most of the time it's either spinnerbait or a yum dinger. Sometimes you'll throw like a Nico rig. I mean, it's funny, but you would think as much junk as so many people carry, and I'm one of them. I mean, I've got a whole arsenal of 50 different combinations of whatevers, and then sometimes it just takes a couple of rods and keeping it simple and just go fish. And I mean, and catching giants, it's like, how does he consistently go out and throw the same few things, but you put the cast in the right place. Sometimes they want it moving fast and sometimes they don't. And you pretty much, give them a choice. It's either like a little Senko, dinger, or something they can chase in a spinner bait. And if they're going to be there, you're going to find them.
Yeah. If I've fished with Drew Gregory a few times. Like I've floated with him and I've watched him fish. I stayed at his house a few times, and talk about someone that fishes simple. He fishes as basic and simple, but what he does, he'll even I think I fish pretty good and pretty fast. He makes probably for every 3 casts I make, he's making 4. And for every foot I'm covering, he's covering 3. So he throws bigger lures, pretty simple. He doesn't even take a spinning rod most time, just boom, 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 working. But he fishes so much water and so many casts. Your odds are catching fish are up.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people sit in one place and just go through lures. And that's what I'm like, just keep moving. There's hungry fish out there a lot of times. And he's ultimate at that, where he just I can't even do it as fast as he can do it. And he'll just burn through an area and then boom, come across those big ones.
It's like he and Russ, they keep it so simple, yet so thorough. But that's why one of them is the champion and the other one's the AOI. And then they flip flop, and then they're always in dudes like that. I mean, they hit every spot, every way, quickly, efficiently, and they're moving. And I mean, yeah, you're right. Sometimes I'll sit there and be like, well, is there a school here? Is there more? They're like bang, 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 bang. And it's just like they hit so many. If there's anything in the vicinity, they seem to find it. But I always wonder, and I want to sit down and ask them one of these days, because I've always talked to, like Drew and Russ about, whatever events or whatever, but how thorough they are and how they seem to target the biggest fish. And it seems like, it's consistent. It's, you see that consistency with a lot of these folks. Christine's like that. It's like, you put them in a pile of 100 people. And I mean, I know that it was that way down below the dam in the Susky, that had to be crowds down there. Yet it's the same people that rise to the top, like almost every occasion. And it's like, how are you that consistent all the time in waters that have been beaten up the whole week leading up to the tournament? Because when old Gramps goes to someplace like that, I'm setting the hook on everything. I mean, the tournament's fun, but that PB is what I'm swinging for. So they're like, oh, I was shaking off. I ain't shaking off nothing.
I was thinking about that. Doing. That's just a different. There's just a top few percent of people that have that different mindset for tournament fishing. I've done decent in a few tournaments. I've beaten a few people that are good, but on average, I'm not. It's not. Majority of the time, it's not going to happen because they're so consistently finding the right areas and fishing the way they're fishing, tournament minded. Where I'm like, I got to make a video while I'm out here pre-fishing. I'm fishing somewhere new. I just want to catch fish. Can I even catch a fish? So, and the way they go hardcore, I'm so lazy. I have a hard time getting to the ramp on time. But the other guys are there an hour early, just waiting to take off. So
dude, the one tournament that I won here in Indiana this year, I got to the ramp an hour after lines in. I was just like, yep, chose to sleep in today. Whatever, let's go find some fish. Best day of fishing I had all year until we went up north, and I was just like, just everything worked out too, but it was fun. But I mean, yeah, I think that's what makes guys like us a little freer when we go fish. We're there to make the video. Whereas, they're there to compete and do all that too. We're kind of competing and covering and, kind of sharing the whole thing about it. But I mean, I actually like that. I don't think I would want to be a full-time competitive, then it becomes work. I mean, I say that knowing that you and I work at this because people think we fish all the time. No, we spend all of our time editing. That's what eats up the majority of the day. And I'm like, I've got videos that I've got sitting there that I need to edit since like May. And I don't know when I'm gonna get caught up, probably Christmas. But it's like, you know what? Right now, it's time to go fishing. Go fish the Hero Cup. Probably go to Caddo, however you say it. Don't care. and try to, and then, you know, maybe I'll put some videos out after that too. But realistically, I love what you do because it brings so many other people into it. And like I said, I mean, what makes me one of your biggest fans is just the sheer joy every time you catch a fish. And you can't not enjoy that because it's what grabs people's attention and makes them want to go do it. It's like, man, this dude's really excited because he caught this little fish. Every fish is a giant in its own, you know, just ain't grown up yet,
Yeah.
you know.
Right. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I'm not going to keep you too much longer because I can sit here and ramble all night, but I wanted to kind of do a quick recap. But then I want to also make aware, you know, you guys stay tuned to John's channel and pay it. You know, I'm sure we'll both be posting on Instagram and whatnot too, because I kind of do that. The day-to-day stuff's on Instagram. So when we get down to the Hero Cup and start, you know, posting there, and then, you know, we'll be filming and shooting all the fun adventures down there too. But kind of keep tuned and watching. And when we get down there, it's gonna be a good time. And I'm sure everybody, I mean, and I've heard, I mean, this time of year coming up, the fact that we're doing it a little bit earlier, I mean, I'm hearing the bites really starting to pick up too. So I know you're probably as excited as I am, but man, I want to go try to catch a big one.
This is my favorite time to fish now. The more I've fished, fall when it just starts getting cool.
Yeah.
I've caught some of my best fish. It's just more relaxed, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I used to kind of shut down and never really fish fall and winter. But now fall to winter is sometimes like the best time because less people out on the water. Yep. You know, it just feels better out. So yeah, I'm really pumped about going down there. I think it's gonna be really fun.
And we get 2 full days of it this year. So I mean, we get a swing for the Giants 2 days in a row. So that'll be fun.
Yes, sir.
Well, with all that said, John, I appreciate you coming on tonight, talking about your ventures and how you got us here. But again, we wanted to do a little bit of a recap and kind of a preview for the Hero Cup. So make sure you guys stay tuned and watch. I promise I'll get caught up on videos these days. John will keep you guys entertained until I do get caught up on editing. But I'm just trying to get out of work and go fish for a couple of weeks and have fun doing it too. But you got anything you got anything new and exciting coming up too? You said you're going fishing with Alex. We'll get you.
Yeah,
tell people what they're going to be looking out for.
We're going to go down a spotted bass river that actually has our state record, 7-pound Alabama spot. I caught out of it, so it's a super clear water, and the water is going to be off from the dam tomorrow. I was just looking at the schedule, so we're going to go. Every time I float right over top of these giant bass that you're like, I have no idea how big that bass is. They're just, it's 10 foot deep and you can see it's so clear.
Oh, wow.
I love clear water. I love clear water. It's just so much fun for me just seeing stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to get in a bunch more creek videos before it gets too cold. And then, yeah, I've got some stuff from Susky I still haven't posted yet. I'll probably save that for winter.
There you go.
And I try to save some of them every once in a while. But yeah, I'm just out here having fun, doing my thing. Appreciate anybody that watches.
Oh, yeah. Appreciate it. All right, folks. Thanks for joining us tonight. It's been another great live. As always, get outside when you can and make some memories. One cast at a time.